Hi, this is Jim with Capitale Scream in Oregon, and I'd like to talk a little bit today about bayonet fencing and more particularly bayonet trainers. What's available, what's out there, what we're using. We don't do a lot of bayonet. I only have a few students who are sort of diehards for it, but it is a lot of fun, and there are options out there. So, Purpleheart Armory in Texas has two different lengths of Mokujo Japanese style trainers. These are basically the cutout rifle shapes with like a rubber cap at the end where the barrel would be. They've got one that's 170 cm or 66.5 inches, and then another one that's 116 cm or where's my notes for this? 45.5 inches. And these are great. They're stout. They're made out of wood. They're tough. They'll last forever. They're not very forgiving. So if you're going hammer and tongs and you're not padded, you're going to get bruised pretty badly. But they're pretty nice, and they're under $100. Another option, less ideal, is to get one of the many different kinds of rubber spearheads out there. This is from Cold Steel. This is on an old rake handle, and it's probably the least expensive way to do this. It's probably the least ideal too. They're too light. So you sort of maximize safety, but the reality of them, they don't look quite right, and they're obviously too light to be like a period rifle or musket. However, they're affordable. And the analogy that I use is it's kind of like using an épée, modern épée to start rapier fencing, right? It's going to be a little short. It's going to be really light. But in terms of the basic techniques and ideas, you can kind of learn those, and then when you can find something better, pick that up. Trade issues being what they are at the moment, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not sure how easy it is to get the Blackfencer musket version, but these are pretty nice. So this is from Spain. It's sort of vaguely musket shaped here. I can't remember quite how long this is, but one of the things I like about it is it looks the part, which is fun. Bayonet is kind of springy, which is good. It'll still kind of, stop you a bit if you get hit with them, but it's pretty flexible. We've had no problems with these at all. You can tack these in if you want to with some pins they provide. We haven't needed to yet. I've been mostly doing drills with one or two students, and so we haven't really had to worry about them popping off of there. But if you can get these, they're great. Again, a little light. If you've held any kind of like 18th or 19th century musket or rifle, this one's a lot lighter. My favorite type of trainer to use are the plug or plunger bayonet. And these are the hardest to get. So at least in the US. And in Europe, I think it's a little bit easier. And there are some people that have experimented with making them. There was one guy in Australia, but I don't think he ships out. And eventually, I think somebody will find an easy and expensive way to do this. If you're lucky, you can find them in the US. And I picked up this one, or two of these actually. And this is actually from the former East Germany. It's a Kalashnikov model. I took the mag out because we don't need those, but it has a pretty nice plunger. It's short, so it's definitely more of a carbine than most of the stuff that we would be using if we could. Most of the manuals that I use are sort of late 19th century up to the First World War, and so I'm imagining a much larger and definitely heavier rifle. This one I want to say it's maybe 4 or 5 pounds. There's actually the barrel here is screwed in, and it's metal solid. And then underneath there's actually a weight inside here as well. But it's a good trainer. I think it was $75 if I remember right. And I'll have to see if I can remember where I got that and then put that in the comments if I can find, if they still have them. But any of these things will work. The other thing I'd like to say real quick about it is that bayonet fencing and bayonet training in the military are different. So fencing with the bayonet's fun, it's a game. And there's certain rules we observe, partly to keep one another from getting injured and partly to not damage our equipment. So we focus on the thrust, and in a lot of ways what it becomes is big two-handed foil. There are lots of options we can't do or shouldn't do. So for example, striking with a rifle butt or the side of the rifle, for very obvious reasons, that's not generally a good idea. One of my advanced students and I, when we do it, especially when we do those particular drills for defense, let's say, I make a thrust and he blocks and then hits me with the rifle butt, he'll stop kind of just short, right? That's a good way to go if you can do it. But you want to make sure you've got the control and the ability to stop like that. What I have them do and what I do myself when I'm training is that, I focus kind of on the fencing aspect, the fun aspect there. And then I use, I have a heavy bag out back or a wave master. And so when I really want to practice, hitting something with the rifle, any part of the rifle, that's what I use. So I don't have to hit a person. We break our friends. They don't want to play with us. So don't break your friends. Anyway, those are some options if you're interested in bayonet. And as for manuals, there's a couple of different things online that are free to get, a couple that are still in print. If you have any questions, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And if you're in the U.S., our especially right now, our options are a bit more limited. But there are different ways to do this. And I think there are even some DIY instructions out there for plunger bayonets, although I got to remember where I saw that. Anyway, hope this is helpful, and I'll see you soon.